Hello, welcome back to the Agile Commute podcast, where we will laugh and explore fresh insights and practical advice to re-energize and inspire your leadership, business, and Agile journey. We are your co-hosts, John Burns and Casey Sharp.
And thanks for joining us on the ride today. Hi, how's it going?
Great. How are you?
I'm exhausted, but
What's popping up that's new for you?
What isn't new? Let's see. Crippling burnout, stress.
Crippling burnout. Yeah.
Let's see. What else? Me questioning all of the Agile community. Things are going really well for me, I feel like.
Wow, I'm fishing for topics, if you couldn't tell, and those are kind of huge.
No, I know. Well, you asked, and so I answered, okay? Anyway, what's new with you?
Maybe I'll propose one. So last year at the Agile conference, I gave a short lightning talk about the Pygmalion Effect. And since then, I've seen it pop up in several different places. I don't know if you've experienced.
So is there some kind of bias where you buy a new car and then you see the car everywhere? I feel like that's happening to you.
Well, yeah, probably. Yeah. I don't know what that bias is called.
Where you gave the presentation and then now you just see it everywhere. I hate to break it to you, bud. People were talking about this before you.
Yes. Yes. That is true.
Well, it's been around for a long time, but yeah, I saw a couple posts on Instagram about the Pygmalion Effect and I was like, I already know about this. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.
Well,
Which, by the way, I was talking to somebody today about it and it was so funny because I couldn't remember what it was called. I remember it started with a P and I knew it was a something effect and I was like, God, what's the word? And for some reason I couldn't think about it and I was driving home and I remembered it and I sent it to my coworker and he was like, oh my God, your wealth of knowledge is amazing. And I was like, no, John's wealth of knowledge is amazing. And I just mooch off his knowledge. I'm just surprised that so few people know about this because I didn't know about it till you and I talked about it a few years ago. Why are we not talking about this more?
You know what? I don't know. I didn't know about it till I read it in a book.
Well, I feel like we're just leaving our audience members hanging. Do you want to explain what it is? We're going to just talk about it the whole time and never define it and just leave everyone confused.
So it's nothing new, and it goes all the way back to Greek mythology. I don't know the exact date, but it originated from Pygmalion is the person, I think. He was a sculptor, and he sculpted a life-size statue of a beautiful lady. And he wanted so much to believe that this lady was real that in the myth, that the statue came to life. So basically, it can be summarized as self-fulfilling prophecy. I wouldn't recommend anyone sculpting a big statue and then truly wishing for it to be real. You can do that. And I'm curious to see if that's true for somebody, if it comes to life. But in my experience, it has more to do with what you think will become true about your behavior and it turns out the behavior of other people. And then there were numerous studies over a period of decades and social experiments where they tested this out and it turned out to be true. There's a large body of research. So there was a couple studies. One of them was a blue eyes, brown eyes. Do you remember that?
Yeah, because I told you about it.
Yeah, that's right. You did. Do you want to summarize?
Yeah, I want to look up the real study, but because I want to look up what year it was. Very controversial study. So I'm not condoning or having an opinion on whether or not we should have done this or not, but it did happen. So we're just live reporting in. But basically there was I'm not going to get all the details right because I don't have the study pulled up, but you can look at it online. Basically there was, I think, an elementary school class. Again, I might get some of the details wrong. Sorry in advance. But basically the teacher said along the lines of okay, everyone in the class with blue eyes is so smart. They're the most amazing people ever. They're going to do so well in life. And brown-eyed students are not going to be successful and they're not very smart and, blah, blah, blah. They gave this whole spiel. And so this went on for a little bit and they had the kids take tests and they like perform tasks and different things, and it was found that like the blue-eyed students did considerably better than the brown-eyed students. And interestingly enough, the second part of the study was the teachers came in and they said, "Oh, whoops, we got it wrong. It's actually the other way around. The brown-eyed students are really smart and the blue-eyed students, not so much." And so you would think that their behavior wouldn't change, like just because the teachers came in, they're like, "Oopsies, we made a mistake." Actually, it did change. And so then it wound up flipping where the brown-eyed students wound up doing better than the blue-eyed students. And like I said, this was really controversial because I'm not sure at the time, like, if all of this was cleared as like a okay thing to be doing with these kids. I don't know. I don't remember. Did you happen to look it up while I was talking?
No, I think, I'm going to look it up now, though. I think it was in the 60s, so anything went in the 60s. Jane Elliott, Blue Eyes, Brown Eyes experiment. It was for anti-racism by illustrating racism when you judge people by a physical characteristic. 1968. Oh, people also ask, what made the blue eye, brown eye experiment unethical?
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. There was like some little questionable, sketchy stuff going on. At least from what I remember from reading it.
Ooh, it caused psychological damage to the children.
Wait, is that what it actually says?
Yeah, to the children who were pitted against one another.
A class divided, then and now. I mean, well, yeah, like, hello.
But it further underscores the point, though.
Right.
Oh, actually, we should say we don't condone this behavior and we don't recommend anyone do this, but because it.
Oh, yeah, no. I mean, like, that's why I said this was very controversial when this happened.
And damaging. There was psychological damage to students who have, brain elasticity to recover from certain things. There was some damage done to them just by telling them the other eye color people are smarter and you're not. And that was, wow, crazy.
Did it say what it was third graders. Yeah, so it was elementary school.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just skimming. An elementary school in Iowa. It's not normal. Okay. Oh, dang, that Friday, April 1968 was not a normal morning. The day before Martin Luther King had been murdered in Memphis.
Yeah. Yeah, that was.
She made a decision about what she would do in her class, a decision that now made her reluctant to leave the house for school. Anyway, okay, so recap, questionably ethical, unethical, no. Questionably, no. It's not questionable. Do you know what I'm trying to say? This unethical, or at least deemed unethical study is one of many examples. I don't know if they've explicitly called out Pygmalion Effect by name in here, but I always think of this one, because the first time I heard about this study was a long, long time ago, and it always stuck with me, and I always remembered this because to me, this was so shocking. I was like, what do you mean? You just told them that these kids would do better and these kids would do worse, and it actually like affected them?
Yeah.
And the thing that got me is that when they came in like the next day or the next whatever, they swapped it. It's like, well, surely they're not going to like change, because it's like, okay, well, now they already have that ingrained and they're not going to believe the teachers that this changed. But then it did.
Yeah. Like Boy Who Cried Wolf, it didn't matter. They reversed it and test scores went down on the other kids. Crazy.
Yeah. And so this specific one was very racially driven. And I know we're not necessarily specifically diving into that topic, but it is totally applicable, clearly, right? Like,
yeah, definitely. There's a study that comes to mind for me with the Pygmalion Effect, and it wasn't called out as the Pygmalion Effect. And it's a little different than this one. It's a little bit nicer. It didn't cause psychological damage. It did the opposite. And it was in the book, The One Thing by Marcus Bingham, and he worked for Pew Research. And one of the things that they did a study on was the couples that stayed together for the longest time. And they targeted couples that were together for longer than 50 years, specifically who were happy, who described themselves as being as happy now after 50 years as when they were first married. Have you heard that one before? Did I tell you about that one before?
It sounds vaguely familiar, but I don't really remember.
Well, the reason why I like it is because They went into it not knowing what the answer was gonna be. They went into it expecting something like the typical, "Well, I know who my spouse is or my partner is. I know their personality type." We had a couple of podcasts on personality types. So we know who we are, and that helps us stay together and be happy for, all those years. And it turned out that wasn't the case, which is odd. What they did, which was different than other couples who weren't together for that long of a time, was each person, let me see if I get this right. Each person, when asked about their partner, evaluated their partner higher than their partner evaluated themselves on multiple categories of kindness and loving and all that stuff. So they had a higher opinion about their partner than their partner had about themselves. And the same was true about their partner. Each one, and you can imagine, despite what each of them did, had a high opinion of them no matter what. And that led to an upward spiral of, in their case, close attraction and bondedness. But in the business community, it would be higher performance. So it's basically proving the point that love is blind, and they believe something about the other person, and in their
No,
minds,
no, don't
yes,
do it. You're
yes,
gonna feed into Netflix's like ego of their ridiculous reality dating. You know that's a thing, right? Do you live under a rock or do you know what I'm talking about?
I might live under the Netflix rock. I don't know what you're talking about there, but
Dude,
if they're
Love is Blind is a show on Netflix. It's so bad. We'll talk about it later. We'll get you caught up in pop culture.
maybe or maybe not, I don't.
Well, so, okay, we're going to quickly talk about this because pop culture is important and you should know what's happening in the world, which is ironic coming from me because I don't know that much either. But Love is Blind, like they pose it as this experiment. They're like, ooh, we're doing this fun, cool experiment where is it true that love is blind? Like, can you decide to marry someone without ever seeing them and will it work out? Nobody knows.
No, that's okay. No, that's not. I think my daughter was seeing an episode or two, and I'm like, this is ridiculous.
It's
Because
bad. I hate
they
reality
physically,
TV.
you don't meet the other person, and you talk to them through like a shade,
Yeah.
which is cool.
But
It's
that,
like, I guess, online dating, I guess, without pictures.
no, online dating, you can still see people. I mean,
Yeah, without pictures.
assuming
So
you're not getting catfished, but like that's a separate thing. No, but then what happens is like, let's say they decide to get married or whatever, then they get to see each other. And then they get to decide, they have to like, I don't know if they live together. I don't remember. I didn't watch the show, but like they live together, they have to be with each other in real life. And then they have to decide whether or not they want to go through with the marriage or not.
so it's put to the test. Yeah, that happens too quickly, though. I would say that kind of like breaks the idea.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, it's doomed to fail, as most of these things are. Anyway, sorry.
But going back to the idea, you think highly of the other person, regardless of what you're seeing, what you're actually seeing them do or say or behave like. You still think highly of them. And then it becomes true because it becomes true in your mind. And they can detect that that's what you think about them, even when you don't say it. You just think it. They live up to that standard. Typically, that's what happens. Now, I would admit there are likely some exceptions out there. And if there are such things as people who, don't play ball on the other end. So, like I said, both sides have to do this in order for it to really work.
Well, in the couple scenario, I wouldn't say that's true at work, though. If one side does it at work, it will still be effective.
Oh, that's what I was going to say. Yes.
Like,
So
that's what I mean.
if
Like,
one
in a
side does
couple
it,
scenario for like optimal coupleness, yeah, I would imagine they would both need to do it. But at work, I don't feel like that's the case.
I would say even with couples, if one starts doing it, that could trigger the other one to start doing it too.
Hmm, you would hope. I wouldn't. I wouldn't bet on that.
Yeah. Let's see. So, in one study, the finding was independent of other factors, when leaders believe their subordinates will perform well, those positive expectations lead to better performance. And I want to caveat the positive expectations. Those aren't high expectations. Those aren't like, oh, I'm gonna set high expectations for the people who report to me, and then they're going to achieve those high expectations because I set them. No, it's you in your mind think positively about who they are as people. Like, oh, they did this. Yeah, sure. They messed up this thing that they were writing. I'm going to put in a reason there. I'm going to say that something happened or they were distracted by something. This wasn't the highest priority. I'm going to pick something and then I'm just going to believe it. By doing that in your mind without even telling them, that's going to lead to better performance. That sounds crazy, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does sound like magic. I mean, I believe it. I'm just saying, like, when we first talked about this and when I was first learning about it, like, it does sound crazy.
I remember.
I mean, don't you think it sounds crazy?
It does. I remember.
It's like, oh, just because I think you're bad at your job, then you become bad at your job. Or just because I think you're good at your job, you become good at your job. That's weird. That's also a little scary, right? Like how much power you have over other people without you even really knowing or realizing.
Completely.
It's scary.
I'm glad you said that because I call this a Jedi mind trick. I call this Pygmalion Effect the Force because you can use it for good or evil. If you think poorly about somebody, they're going to live up to that poor expectation too.
Well, they have movies about that, right? Where it's like, oh, you think I'm a villain? Well, I'm just going to be the villain then. Like, that's a trope in movies.
Based on real life.
Well,
I
yeah.
mean, that happens.
I mean, that was like kind of really sadly the Joker movie.
Yeah.
People continued to treat him a certain way and view him a certain way. And eventually one day he just became the villain.
Yeah. It's like when I see people mistreating or talking bad about someone else, I begin to think, you're causing that. Stop it. No. Why don't we try to think of something different about that person? Like,
you'd hate my office. We're just a bunch of horrible people. We're so mean. It's so bad.
Do you do like gossip? Is that what it is?
Yes.
Like you talk behind people's back or something?
Yes. There is a lot of venting about people outside of our team that make us want to cry. Which, to be fair, they are outside of our team, so we don't like directly work with them. But like, there's also value, even though we're not necessarily going to get into this, there is value in like camaraderie through gossip and venting when used in a healthy way. So let's just caveat what I just said and remember that.
To an extent. I'll say to an extent. Also,
but if I come to you and I'm like, oh my God, this meeting, it was such trash. Can you believe what this person did? Like, that's a venting session.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's healthy and important. And I would like to not minimize that. Although I know that contradicts everything we just said about the Pygmalion Effect, but whatever.
Okay, so
sometimes you gotta be upset. Okay, sometimes things are frustrating.
Yeah, well, this happened to me numerous times. In fact, not just a couple, just numerous times. And I understand people can be irritated with me for this. So when I hear somebody and they start complaining, and then I kind of jump in there with, well, sure, but maybe they were having a bad day. You know, I start to make up a reason for them. And then they get irritated because I'm never on their side, essentially.
Yes, it's very annoying. It's so annoying. Pick up the pitchfork. Pick up the pitchfork.
I have trouble doing that.
For like temporary. Here's my thing. This is my method, right? So like I also do what you're saying where I got to get it out there. I got to be frustrated. And then I backtrack and I'm like, this person probably is like this or this person is probably like that. But for me, in order to like minimize my own frustration and get myself back like in a good state, like I need to have that moment. Luckily, I have my crew of mean girls at work. And we all get together and we get very upset and very mad. And then we're good. And then we're like, well, you know, to be fair, or like, well, you know, this guy doesn't have the right expectations set for him. Or, oh, he was put in a bad, but like we get there. But we got to be mad first. Have you never been in a meeting and been frustrated?
Yeah. Hey, can you come over and we can vent for a little bit?
Yes.
I can't. I'm sick.
I'm not going to finish that line because we'll get demonetized. Not that we're monetized, but we'll get in trouble. But that's the thing, right? So like today, I literally quoted the meme that I love where they're like, be nice. And she's like, I'm finding it. I'm finding it. And they're like, does it really take that long? Yes, it does. Because I can't be nice sometimes.
I don't know what that's from.
Oh, yeah, it's a meme. You don't live in the real world with the rest of us. That's the other thing about my Mean Girl squad at work. Very good meme game we have going on. It's amazing. That's how my brain thinks. But anyway, for example, the meeting that I had today, 45-minute waste of time. I hung up the phone and I was ready to scream into the void. You've just wasted 45 minutes of, I don't know how many people are on the call. I'm going to make it up. 15 people. I don't know. You've just wasted 45 minutes of our time. What is there to be happy about? Oh, good job, champ. Oh, you tried your best. No, it was a waste of time. Do better. So I got to get that out of my system. You know, I'm not the nicest. I get very frustrated. And then I'm like, well, you know, think of it from his perspective. To be totally honest, I do feel like this guy has been put in a position that just does not align with his strengths. I don't know what his strengths are, not to be rude. I literally mean I don't know what they are because I don't know him that well. But they're not whatever this job is. And so, like, I do feel bad for him from that perspective. And, like, I get there. I backtrack. And I'm like, okay, we got to feel bad. We got to figure out what was going on. Maybe he had a stomach ache.
There you
Maybe
go.
he had, like, I do that. Like, you seem to think that I don't do that.
But see, some people don't.
But, like, you got to understand that some people got to air out their grievances first, and then they can get there. I think some people don't ever get there, and I think some people do just complain, and they're mean and nasty, and they never get to the end part. But at least for me, you should know me by now, which clearly you don't, and you think I'm a terrible person.
I do not.
But, like, this is really important, and I love that a lot of people on my team are very good about this. And I try to be good about this too, where you go to somebody and you either have a problem or you're upset and you're mad, and we're like, is this a venting situation or is this a problem solving situation? Or is it this type of situation? Like, what are you looking for? And we can just say, we're looking to vent, we're looking to solve a problem, you know, whatever. And I do this with my mom. I'm like, I'm not in the solution space right now. I'm really upset and I need to just complain space. So please don't be coming at me with solutions. And like, we set that expectation up front. Because some people need to vent, John, okay? Like, sorry you don't have any complaints in life. Must be nice.
No, I do. I think it's important. And that might be one of the things that I was missing in my talk. Like, what do you do about it? I should have included, we all have venting sessions about stuff that we think are, you just can't make this up, check this out kind of thing.
Oh my God, so much of that.
Oh, especially these days. Whew, don't even want to get into politics, but you're not done until you end on a positive note. And that positive note is, let's start thinking of positive things about the people we were just complaining about. I think that's healthy.
Yeah. I mean, that's my thing, is that like some people, I guess, don't need to complain and don't need to talk things out. But I know there are a lot of personality types, I put myself in this category, that like really need to do that to like reset. And it's so funny because like, I think my grandma is like that, where she's a talker and she's got to talk things out. And same with me, like if there's something bothering me or I'm stressed, like I want to, you know, get it out in the open. Some people are talkers and they got to talk things out and then eventually they'll be fine. But I got a question for you then. Like, I know you said that this is always in the back of your mind and you're always thinking about it. You want to use a Jedi mind trick and blah, 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 whatever. Which, by the way, that's not an original thought. You know that whole thing where it's like nothing that you've ever thought about hasn't already been thought about by somebody else? Like there is no original thought. Have you heard that whole thing?
Oh, definitely. Yep.
Yeah, well, I was reading Never Split the Difference.
Yeah.
And he refers to it as a Jedi mind trick.
Yeah, he does, doesn't he?
Yeah.
That's right. I remember that. He does.
Anyway, that was just a fun little aside. But I had a question for you. So you're thinking about this in the back of your mind all the time. So you're always trying to be like, ooh, everyone's so amazing. Everyone's so great. Everyone's just the greatest person ever to live. Which is great.
Actually, pretty much, yeah.
I mean, like, don't give, like, I wish I could be that way. Like, I think that everyone from, like, a human level, that is totally true. When you talk about, like, day-to-day completing your expected functions, that's where I start getting a little questionable. But when you're thinking about this in the back of your mind, like, do you not ever get upset with people?
Oh, I do.
Like, what do you do when you have that moment of, like, this person is frustrating me, or I don't think they're a good person? Like, you definitely have people that you've talked to me about that you, like, really don't like with deep within. Especially when it comes to, like, bad leaders. You get really upset. You get really mad about it. So, like, how do you, like, deal with that? Or what do you do about it? Or do you just be like, no, I just really don't like this person and I don't really care?
I'm going to totally nerd out here.
Okay.
So bear with me. So you know how in Star Wars?
Oh my God. Are we really doing this? No.
No. Hold on, just wait. So you know how in Star Wars, Anakin Skywalker he's like the greatest Jedi of all time and stuff.
Yeah, totally. I don't know anything about Star Wars, but fine.
Yeah, just nod your head and just agree. So,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally.
so he was great, but he had a fatal flaw, and his fatal flaw was Padme Amidala. So if it had to do with her, he would do whatever. He would just ignore all of the things he was taught, all of his principles and stuff like that, and also to kind of the same, a little bit of a lesser extent, his Padawan as well. So my Padme is poor leadership in senior leaders. I quickly go to the dark side. When that happens, it takes me a long time to stop the venting session and to eventually come around to ending on a positive note. And I mean, like, it can take days to weeks, sometimes months for me to get
Or
there.
never.
I'm not going to say never, because I can come around to the few people that I'm still on the dark side about.
Okay. I just wanted to say,
There are still a few.
first of all, thank you for saying that. Second of all, then why do you judge me and other people so harshly for being venti and upset with other people?
I don't. I'm not.
Because you view everyone with unconditional positive regards. How could you think negatively of me?
No, all I say is this is a better way to be. That's it.
Yeah, my thing is that like I really don't think you give me enough credit. I'm gonna just say that. I'm serious. I really don't feel like you're giving me enough credit. I do this all the time with everybody constantly. Despite me being this like mean, bitter human being that people just misunderstand because I don't say it out loud. But like I'm thinking it. I'm like, everybody's awesome.
I was gonna say that's just on the outside. So yeah, I totally get that you do.
And you know, it's so funny too, because there was some stuff that happened at work recently where I felt that people were not viewing me with unconditional positive regard.
Which is probably true.
It was 100% true. It was not a good interaction. Like, it was actually not good. And, you know, I just stopped and thought to myself, I was like, I would literally never have handled this situation this way.
Right.
And I was talking to a couple of close people at work where it was like, people were coming at me like, you know, they were not happy with certain things that I did or said or whatever. And I was like, did you ever stop to like want to ask me a question about if I'm okay? Or like if there was some sort of reasoning.
Right.
And it's funny because there was something else that was happening kind of in parallel. And the way that I had handled it was, I'm very frustrated with this person. This completely unrelated to that top. Like I was really frustrated with this person, but I was like, I know that a lot of what is happening with this person that's frustrating me is because they are very stressed and they're very worried. And like, I truly believe that. Whether or not that is the case, who knows? But like, I actually really believe that a lot of their reactive behaviors that are driving me absolutely insane are coming from an intent or place of they are extremely stressed out. And they're very worried and they're very committed to trying to deliver this thing, but they're very worried about the delivery.
No, that's true. Yeah, probably true.
And so if some of my behaviors show up and people decide to handle that as not a, wonder what's going on there, right? And they handle it as that negative type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily, like for me, I put my big boy pants on and like I handled it accordingly. It just sort of hit me where I was like, I would like to think I wouldn't do that to somebody. And I do that all the time for people, like when they drive me crazy, especially people directly on my team. And it's just so funny because yes, I do have a little bit of a silly, rough around the edges exterior, but under the hood, behind the curtains, there's a lot of this happening, right? Where it's like,
I was hoping you were going to mix that up.
Yeah, was I going to say behind the hood? I think that's why I stopped. I was like, no, that's the wrong one.
Under the curtains.
You know, you want to hear something really dumb? This is totally unrelated, but I was writing an email recently and I was going to say behind the curtains and I changed it to under the hood because I was writing a bunch of men. Can you believe I did that? Disgusting. I'm so mad at myself for saying that. I changed it because I was like, oh, this is more manly. They'll resonate better with them.
Thank you for feeding into the ancient patriarchy that
Oh,
is
I
our
know. I was
society.
so mad. And I was like, I should have changed it back. Where are my theater people? Actually, I don't even know is that where that comes from? Behind the curtain? Magic tricks? I don't know.
Yeah, I think so.
Anyway, I was very mad at myself that I fed into that ridiculous nonsense. But anyway, all of it to say, I don't feel like you give me enough credit and you think I'm just a mean, complainy, venty person, but I gotta vent, I gotta complain, okay? I gotta get it off my chest and then I can be nice to people again. Whatever.
Ah,
I was like, okay, here's my problem. Help me, help me. Like, this will be like a live coaching session. So, as you know, my personality is very like, I don't know how to explain it. Do you know how to explain it? Like, I care a lot about delivery and that like people are trying and being proactive. And like, that means a lot to me because I'm a bit of a perfectionist. I care a lot about doing a good job, etc.
yeah.
And so when I see people just sort of floundering around, lacking common
Hmm.
sense, stuff like that, or like they're not being proactive or they're not doing their job properly, or like they're just totally not meeting expectations and these people are just drowning and they're just not doing well, like it makes me so annoyed. It like, and it's so funny because
Mm,
like when we talked about the personality test, I talked about how like I think everyone has a very multifaceted personality.
yes.
And for me, I have this like fun, coachy leadership personality where I'm like, rah, rah, you know, hooray, all the people. But then I have my delivery personality, and I really struggle to not be frustrated. And like the venting sessions are definitely more frequent
Yeah.
because I will say that right now my role is a lot less like larger level coaching like we used to do and much more tactical delivery, getting the job done, product ownership, product management, driving delivery. And like, I got to tell you, that part of my personality is nasty. And I'm like, how do I think well of these people that just are in positions that they're just not suited for?
Yeah, you have a gear that is intense and focused. And that gear does not do well with those who are not engaged and focused and determined.
Yeah. And I will say to like not to I'm not trying to be like, "Oh, I'm the most amazing person ever," because that's not what I'm saying. But like I see there are other people on my team who are like me, which is really nice to be honest. I feel like a lot of teams I've been on have not had a lot of like similar me personalities.
Uh-huh.
But there are other people on the team, and I definitely am the one to be like, well, you know, this person's probably just, you know, having a bad day, or, well, you know, cut them a little slack. I do try and do that. And a lot of these other people on my team maybe don't do that immediately.
Yeah.
That is something that I have, like, I feel a little bit crazy because I'm having these, like, internal struggles with myself to do the unconditional positive regard. Like, I try, but it's so hard because I get so frustrated so easily. And I just feel like I'm at odds with myself.
I think you can have both. Have you ever tried having both?
What do you mean?
Because right now I'm in a role that is more delivery focused as well, at least for the time being. It is intense. The team I'm on, we are all going very fast. So there are several members of the team that are focused and intense, right? And it's infectious. We kind of feed off each other. But then there are those who are not, and they may even feel uncomfortable being around us, right?
Yeah.
Because they're a little bit more relaxed. They're not concerned about how slow they're going.
Lack of urgency.
Yeah, they even say things like, "Yeah, oh gosh, you guys are going really fast. I wish I could go that fast," and stuff like that. And they're trying,
That's
right?
sad
So,
for them. Like, no, I mean, like, I feel bad because I can understand feeling that discomfort.
yeah, there you go. Hold on to that. Let that do the talking because we are the same way. We're like, "Oh yeah, so and so he can't really keep up right now, but he will soon, or he will at some point." I don't know how well you can do this, but we're gonna slow down a little bit when we interact with them and then say, okay, cool. How about you try this? And then when they go off and try that, we just speed back up. It's a lot more work because we have to think of things where they can be productive and see that they're helping us out too. but not hold us back. You know what I mean? It's kind of,
Yeah, I would say I somewhat relate to that. And we definitely have people like that on our team. But
uh-oh, you're thinking of someone, aren't you?
oh, well, I was thinking of a meeting I had today where like this guy was just he was struggling so much, and like I'm not like mad or anything about it, but well, I was frustrated in the moment because it was one of those things where I just felt like I kept saying the same thing, and he was getting confused, and I was like re-explaining it, and he was still confused. And we're all just like, oh my God. And don't get me wrong, like I've been in that position where I've been the confused one. And like I actually remember, oh my God, there was this one team I was on, and my dev lead, I was struggling so hard in this meeting to understand something, and it took me forever. Eventually I got it. And he tried a couple of different
Mhm.
things and I got it. And so that's why like the slowness, it does bother me because when we're like in high momentum and we're moving really quickly. But I mean, in general, like if people have a little less sense of urgency or whatever, that's fine. I think it's mostly when people are like bad at their jobs or they cause more work for other people or if things are like inefficient. I think those are the things that kind of bother me the most.
Oh, so we had a person on our team that was going so slow that the program manager decided to find a better fit. And those are kind phrases. I felt bad because I know this is kind of off the topic of Pygmalion Effect, or maybe not.
Mm,
I feel like some of that is my fault, and I think it is because if you consider yourself an influential leader, the Pygmalion Effect would suggest that the leader has an impact and shares some of the blame for poor performance in somebody else because maybe I didn't think of them highly enough. Maybe I could have done something that would have increased their performance a bit more. Now, I do acknowledge that, yes, their performance was increasing. So it wasn't all, I don't feel all 100% bad, but I do still feel that it's somewhat my responsibility to help them along. And that helps me. I don't know if that's a way you can try
yeah,
to.
but I don't remember if we've talked about this, but I do. I also struggle with like poor performance stuff. I do think that giving people enough time, like thinking positively, finding what their strengths are, feeding into that will like help them be a
Mhm.
better performer. But also, at some point, again, like this is really hard. Like, where's the line? I feel like it's very
It
gray.
is.
It's really not a good fit and you don't have what we need for the role versus like something we're doing culturally is negatively impacting that person from being successful. And like sometimes it's really hard to know. Like how because again, like this is completely subliminal. Well, in most cases this is very subliminal, very sneaky, very under the radar. If leaders or other team members think poorly of somebody, sometimes it's not so obvious. And you don't even know that that's what's doing it versus like hey, this person just like doesn't have the right skills. For example, it's obvious if you hire, you know, a business analyst to be a senior database administrator. They clearly on paper don't have the skills required to fulfill that job in a reasonable amount of time.
Uh-huh.
Right? Like that did I say business analyst? Whatever. Like that business analyst might be able to learn the database administration stuff, but if you need somebody to come in on day one and know those skills, like that's very obvious that's not a good fit. But let's say you hire a database administrator and like culturally on the team they aren't a good fit. Like maybe they're not jiving with everybody else or maybe there's some weird something or other going on or I don't know, like that's a consideration. But then also you have the Pygmalion effect to consider. You hire the database administrator, they're doing database administration stuff, and maybe people don't like this person, or maybe he messed something up and then there's a lack of trust and that sort of like snowballs into more lack of trust and then everybody doesn't trust him and then he starts or she they start, you know, again, this is all subconscious most of the time.
Mhm.
And like the database administrator might not even really fully realize that the team doesn't trust them, but through these unconscious actions, behaviors, whatever, this database administrator starts doing worse and worse and worse and worse as, let's say, a program manager or somebody who has to do performance evaluations. Like, how do you then figure out, is this person just not a good fit or is this weird Pygmalion effect in effect? Like, how do you then even know that? I'm having a small crisis.
You should always assume that the Pygmalion effect is in effect.
Question. Big important question then.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say in this database administrator example, I'm the PM or whatever, whoever's the decider of who's hired and fired. I don't know, whatever that role
Mm-hmm.
is. And I'm like, ooh, this person's not doing a very good job. And I say, all right, I'm going to assume negative Pygmalion effect is happening and this person is being impacted.
Mm-hmm. You're going to go dark side about it.
Well, I like that that's happening, or like whether that's from me or other people in the team or whatever, like, ooh, okay, I'm going to assume, they can do the job and they're amazing,
Right.
but for some reason, either other people don't think that or whatever, the environment, something's going on there. So let's say that I assume that going into this whole thing of like, oh, this person's not doing a good job.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how would you handle that if you were in my shoes? Like, what steps would you take? What things should you consider to address, let's say, somebody who is a poor performer, and you have to make that judgment call between, okay, is this the Pygmalion effect? Can we fix that? Like, what does can we fix that look like? Versus we've given that enough of a go, and actually this person just isn't a good fit. Like, what would that process for you look like in that scenario?
Oh, am I at the point where I have to make a decision?
No, let's just say like you've noticed they haven't been doing a good job, and maybe a few people on the team have been like, oh, this person really is not keeping up, or like they're not able to get their work done. They aren't really meeting expectations for the role. Like a couple people have come to you, you've sort of noticed it, and now you're trying to figure out, all right, what are the next steps?
If I've heard from everyone who I think has influence over that person, then I have enough information. If I haven't heard from everyone that has influence over that person that I'm aware of, I probably would go and do a survey, like a informal kind of under the radar kind of survey to say, hey, how's it going? Approach people and like, what do you think about, how do you think so and so is doing? And then just get a gauge of what people think about
You
them.
would do that? Isn't that like really obvious that you're snooping around?
I wouldn't start off that way. I'd say I would start off with something else. Just ask them about them.
Like to the database administrator?
Nope, to everyone that has influence over them. I would just go around and talk to
Well,
people.
what do you mean when you say people who have influence? Like in your mind, who is that?
Okay, so if I see the database administrator on a normal basis talk to a certain number of people or interact with a certain number of people and they seem relaxed around them, those people have influence over that database minister. They would interact with them. That's who would perpetuate the Pygmalion effect. So I would go and talk to those people, just, try to elicit what they think about the person. And then, depending on what I'm getting, if I'm getting overwhelming negativity from everyone, I don't know if I would pull them all into a room or talk to them individually. Um, but in some way, I would make sure that they are aware of the Pygmalion effect, just to say, look, you probably know this. No, I know you know this, but so and so, they're falling a little short, maybe. Can we try something a little different? It's going to be kind of experimental. You might think it's really weird, but can we just give it a shot? And then just try to convince them to say, let's start thinking highly of this person. And then whenever they mess up, because they will, they're going to stumble, let's come up with an excuse. Or whenever we have an expectation that on them and they fall short, there's that gap, fill that gap with something positive, and then don't even talk to them about it. Just believe it. Regardless of the evidence, just believe it. And then explain to them the whole thing and then see how that goes. If that doesn't change things, then, you know,
Like, how long do you think you'd give for that? Like, in a position where you have to sort of make a decision about a person, like, how long would you try and like wait to see if it changes?
it depends really, but I would say at least a month. But if you don't have a month, you're gonna have to make a decision
Yeah.
based on the information you
So
have.
I think it's interesting how you explained your approach to that, because I would say I think my brain is not looking at it the same way you are, which is, yay, different people, different perspectives, right?
Mhm,
I guess I was looking at this more of the database administrator maybe is on some sort of team with people who are his peers.
mhm.
I don't know if I would really necessarily be comfortable going to his peers and be like, hey, let's think better about this person. Let's try that out. I feel like you're sort of like cats out of the bag. I think this guy's not doing well. Like that sort of almost, I feel like, feeds into it a little bit.
They know. I'm only approaching the people who have a negative opinion. They know.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I feel like, so I have this problem with a couple people um in certain jobs and positions. Like I've definitely had this happen, and I'll say what I have tried to do. I haven't been in like the hiring, firing position, but I have been in positions where I at least provide performance feedback for performance evaluations, but I have tried to creatively think of ways to let the person shine
Mm-hmm.
and have other people see it to sort of naturally start to try and change people's regard for them. That's a little bit sneaky or a little more subtle and maybe not as fast of a change. If you just go to someone and be like, hey, let's think better about them, like let's try and fill the gap with something positive, like I'm sure you'll see something faster. But recently there was something that came up where there's this person that everybody gets frustrated by, and I get very frustrated by this person too, constantly. It's very aggravating on my delivery side because I feel like I wind up having to redo a lot of this person's work, which is a huge waste of time. Very frustrating, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, okay, this is getting a little out of hand. Everybody basically doesn't like this person. They think they're doing a bad job, whatever. I was like, okay, let me try and find a couple of things that this person has done well and try and like highlight that to the rest of the team. So like there was something where I was, oh, and so helped with this thing that like went really well. So I'm trying to like shift a little bit of the perspective that way. Maybe it's slower moving. Maybe you don't think that's a very effective way to do it, but I've tried to do that. And I feel like it's good for me too, because it forces me to think about the positive things of that person for me to then share with other people.
And you're teaching them how to have unconditional positive regard,
Yeah, I guess so.
which is good because that's what I do too.
If people pick up on it.
Yeah, well, if they pick up on it, yeah. I think they do more than you realize. And it depends on how influential you are to them. So, unconditional positive regard works in this way too, where if you have influence over people who have influence over somebody, you can affect that. Not that it's like one off. That's like a Jedi mind trick that it affects somebody's mind that affects somebody else's mind, which is kind of crazy, right? But it works because I was in a similar situation where we had a person that was on the team that was effectively dead weight, right?
Oh.
So they, no matter what they did, it didn't contribute to moving forward. And I would have to redo or discount what they were doing. It didn't move us forward very much. And then other members of the team, and this is the really fast moving team. There's a younger member of the team, and she was just had this disdain for him. I picked up on it because it wasn't subtle. It was very obvious. He would come out like, "Did you invite so and so to this meeting?" Because she didn't even want him in on our meetings when we do TEMS and stuff.
So relatable.
And
Oh my God.
so what I would do, thanks to my experience with you. No, what I would do is whenever something like that comes up, I would find a way to say, no, no, we have to include. I would remind he is a part of the team. And when any member of the team stumbles, which we will, we must help pick them up, help them grow and be better. And this is what we got to do. I pose it as there's no question. We don't question this. This is just what we do.
So I got a question for you on that. Because I think philosophically, I believe you, and I'm into that.
Mhm.
But there's a but. I do agree with that, like at a fundamental level. So, you know, when you have a lot of work to do, whether that's the whole team has a lot of work to do or you specifically have a lot of work to do, and you can choose to give the work. Let's say I have 10 things to do and I want to delegate a couple things to you.
Uh-huh.
Somebody at work basically was like, you're your own problem because you don't delegate enough stuff. That's why you have too much stuff on your plate. And I was like, oh, excuse me. That was a little spicy of you to say. And the reason that I felt that it was spicy because the thing that this person was upset about was a very specific task that I didn't delegate.
Sure.
And the reason I didn't delegate it was because it needed to get done immediately.
Okay.
It was a time sensitive thing and it needed to get done like that day. And had I delegated it to this other person who wanted it delegated to them, it would have taken much longer than that because I'd have to teach them, I'd have to show them, yada, yada. And it's not that I can't do that afterwards, but if there's a thing that has to be done, or somebody has a certain knowledge base and you have a certain delivery and you have to get to it, sometimes you just have to do that. And sometimes maybe you can't delegate it. And this idea of, I'm tying this back in, well, actually, do you agree with what I just said? Or do you feel like, no, you should have delegated it and like you should have just taken the time? But like, do you see what I'm saying?
Seems like it's a separate issue. I mean, that's more of a tactical
Well,
issue.
wait, I'm going to tie it back in.
Okay.
Because the thing with the meetings, and this is why I, in my brain, connected it, because if this person, this lady, didn't want this other team member to join, I tied that into they felt like the meeting was going to be slowed down or they wouldn't accomplish what needs to be accomplished. That was what was driving her not wanting this person to be there. And so that root of her concern, I feel like just saying, oh, we have to invite this person because they're part of the team. But the concern is around, like, I'm assuming maybe this is not the case. Maybe she just doesn't like him. I have been in that situation where we're like, well, should we invite so-and-so? We're like, I'd really rather not invite so-and-so because they'll divert the conversation or we'll never get anything done. It's going to waste a lot of time, or we're not going to get this thing done when we have like a pending or looming delivery. That's tough, right? Because again, with trying to do unconditional positive regard and assuming the best in people, but then also balancing helping everyone with meeting sometimes very aggressive deadlines, I personally fully struggle with that.
Yeah.
That is something very hard for me and I think my personality type. And so that's how in my brain I tied it back, why I thought those were kind of related, of like, well, I didn't delegate this. And it's not that I think that this person is dumb and they can't do the job. They're just not going to be able to do it fast enough and on time where they're going to quote unquote slow me down. Not a good way to think, but like if you have a deadline, you have to turn something in. Like sometimes you have to bite the bullet and do that. That doesn't mean I think negatively of the person, but that sometimes could subtly indicate that to other people or to that person. And so I don't know if you feel like with the meeting thing with this girl, if she felt that was the case, if we were to invite this person, they would slow things down or they wouldn't get things done. And then like she may be worried about delivery, maybe over how it would be perceived by this person or like the impacts that might have on the person. But it is a consideration. And like I said, I struggle with that, to be like, oh my God, you waste so much time. You're so inefficient. Or like, I have to redo all of your work. I do have a lot of those thoughts. And it's very tough because like we do have things we have to deliver and we do have things we need to get done. I'm never going to think you're a terrible person, but I can think that you're really slow. It's so hard.
So that was the case. She was worried about the immediate getting things done. Now, it was easier for us in our situation because these looming deadlines are self-imposed and they were extremely aggressive. We set the bar high for ourselves, I mean, really high, and we could hit them, but not all of those who are in a scrum master or delivery manager or similar position would have this philosophy, but I think they should, in that the integrity of the team is far more important than speed of delivery, because the team is what's going to increase the speed of delivery, not the schedule or the demands you place on the team. So I value team camaraderie and unity and cohesion more than getting stuff done. In the short term, yes, I totally acknowledge we would have to do things which would inevitably slow us down a little bit. This is on another team too. We had some dead weight. We had multiple dead weight. What we did is we learned how to arrange the work such that the issues they caused was minimal, and everybody kind of knew it, including the dead weight, and we just made it okay. It's weird, but we just made it
But
okay
like at that point, why wouldn't you just find somebody else?
because that's detrimental to the psychology of everyone else on the team. You're going to have a bad day. What happens when you have a bad
Yeah, but
day?
if every day is a bad day for them, and that's what I was talking about with this, like, I'm serious, right?
I
Because like,
know.
if you're running
I
a
know.
business and like, it's so funny because was very team like rah rah camaraderie, like we gotta love each other and peace and love and whatever, right? Like I was there, I was about that, but then it's interesting because one of my managers that I've worked with recently, I got to really see a lot more of the business side and some of the pressure that they get. Now, I'm not saying I agree with it entirely, but again, that comes down to what are the expectations set for that role and assessing that person based on those expectations.
Mhm.
So, if let's say the quote unquote dead weight was actually beating whatever expectations were set for them, okay, fine, I can see that. But if the fact of the matter is there's team level expectations and these role level expectations, and if they really just aren't cutting it, again, it's not that we think they're a bad person, but clearly they're not aligned for the role. I can think someone's the greatest person in the world and realize that you hired a business analyst to do a database administration job. That doesn't make that person a bad person.
Yeah.
But that does mean we probably need to find them a different position.
Yeah.
I think both of those things can be true. Even the dead weight, like you can acknowledge, yeah, you're not doing a good job. This is not a good fit. You can think highly of that person as a person, but I feel like you should still be able to acknowledge, yeah, I don't know if it really cut up for this specific position, bud. Because again, like it's not that, oh, someone has a bad day and you cut them and then that sends a message to the rest of the team. If every day is a bad day and every day you're not doing a good job and every day you're not meeting expectations, at what point do you just say, okay, great, time to find a new person? Or are you expecting that the dead weight knows they're dead weight and then they leave on their own?
So sometimes when dead weight finds a place where they can go and everyone's okay with being dead weight, they're just going to stay there. So that was the case in one of my teams, and the reason why that we kept them for so long is because the company couldn't find a place for them, and they did the least harm on my team. So we just made their impact minimal.
Yeah, but don't you think that in a perfect world you'd like to have somebody that's not dead weight?
Sure, yeah, but we didn't have a choice then. But in this recent case, when management is involved, so I would say that the one person from the team, ideally the scrum master or delivery manager, needs to be management or in touch with management and have a high degree of transparency. It becomes obvious on a scrum team when someone is dead weight. I mean, it's plainly obvious. You just need to come to one stand up or just a couple of stand ups. You're like, so and so's not pulling their weight, are they? Well, if I had to quantify, yeah, no. So, I had several conversations like that. And how long you hold on to somebody, how long the team tries to work with somebody and protect them, longer than necessary. You always want to go the extra mile for somebody. You always do. And then when the evidence is overwhelming and it's an easy decision for management, it shouldn't be a surprise to that person. Then, of course, you want as a team to have a nice send off to say, hey, we really appreciate all these positive things about you, and then just try to lift them up as much as possible. So even in exiting, you want to try to make it as great of an experience as possible, because even though they're not going to be contributing to your team, and I'm bringing this back to unconditional positive regard, you can apply the Pygmalion effect to the next place that they go and saying that, hey, we valued you being here. We know you're going to be valuable the next place you go.
Yeah. When you said that, I thought about this one person I used to work with that they left and everyone was so relieved. That is so the opposite of what you should be doing. But like, oh my God, we rejoiced when this one team I was on. This person left and we were like, thank God, couldn't have been soon enough. That is so the because you just said, oh, where they go to the next place. Oh, we're so glad you were here. We value. No, we so did not. It was awful. Oh, I feel like such a bad person.
So in our case, this guy was so upbeat and positive. He never had a negative thing to say. He was always upbeat and positive, and that's what we focused on.
That's so nice.
For us, okay, so this is our psychology. For our team, we're like, okay, he's not detracting from performance. He's just not having a positive effect.
Yeah, I'm okay with breaking even.
Yeah, we're breaking even with him, and he's really nice.
Yeah, but when you start going in the red with somebody and you're like bringing people down,
Yeah.
that's when I'm like, Don't know about that, bud.
Okay, so now you're getting to my dark side.
Let's go.
You're out of there immediately. I won't even apologize for that. I will go to management and say, this is having a detrimental effect on our team. They need to leave immediately.
You know, I've dealt with that. And you know what? When that person left, our team's performance skyrocketed. It was incredible.
Right? I mean, I don't doubt it for several reasons. Pygmalion Effect being one of them.
What do you mean?
Well, when people think negatively about somebody else, and you could pick up on it, it's irritating. It affects the culture, you know? There's a downward negativity spiral that affects more than just the person that's causing a disruption. It affects everyone, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when that, well, I was about to say cancer, but when that person leaves, the entire system becomes better.
And I'm supposed to be the mean one? Okay.
Well, it is like a cancer.
Yes, I have experienced that on several teams in several occasions.
Yeah, so wow, this is fascinating.
One thing I will say, though, I did want to touch on this because I do think it's important, and I know we're kind of almost out of time here, but I just wanted to say that this is something you can practice and get better at.
Definitely.
I think that's really key to the conversation because, and I wish we'd probably talked about this sooner, but like when we originally talked about this like ages ago, and you told me about this, and I was like, this is ridiculous, you know, whatever. Because I did think it was ridiculous. I was like, this is. What did I say? I was like, so you want me to lie to myself?
Yep.
And you were like, yeah. And I was just like, excuse me? We were at my desk in our quad having this conversation, and you drew me a little picture on the back of your paper. And I was like, okay, I guess I'll try this ridiculous nonsense.
Yeah. You did say it. So you're telling me I have to lie to myself. And I paused and I thought about it for a minute because nobody asked me that question before. And I thought about it and I said, yeah, actually, you do. You do have to lie to yourself about it.
Yeah, because again, like what we talked about with the delivery aspect, I have to slow myself down. And there are deep, intense, dark delivery parts of me that are like, person's so inefficient. Oh my God, we got to get all this stuff done. Oh my God, why are they so bad at their job? This is like spiraling in my head, especially when I have a lot of things that I need to get done. And especially not when I was, you know, a leadership role, especially when I was in like hardcore delivery roles, which is what I was in when we first talked about this. I was full workhorse, do all the things position. I was not in a leadership position. I was very frustrated with a lot of people because I just felt like they weren't pulling their weight or things weren't getting done or like they weren't getting done well, certainly not to my standards. And so I was like, oh, I have to stop and be like, but like this person's really nice. Well, this person's work isn't really that bad. And I was like, this is ridiculous. I don't think that at all. I truly don't believe this. But I was like, fine, I'm just going to keep telling myself and I'm going to keep thinking and I'm going to be like, try and find anything remotely positive about this person to just try it out and see if this is going to work. And so all of that to say, yes, it did work. FYI to the people out there. It did work, but I will say like it took a while and it was practicing sort of rewiring my brain to think this way. And lucky for you, John, like you just, I think always have done this, or did it change for you at some point? Or are you just like naturally doing this?
I was generally naturally doing it.
Yeah. So all the other like cranky people out there like me, you can achieve this. I know that you can because I did, and I'm queen of being cranky. But like I practiced, and now I will say this is like totally natural for me, and I stop and I think about it. And yes, sometimes I get in like the delivery spiral of, oh my God, we got to do all the things and like the intensity, but I do know how to like pull myself back out and think about this and behave that way. Yes, sometimes I do have to remind myself, re-practice or rejigger, especially when I'm in that deep, intense work mode. But my outlook on people and my ability to quickly be able to fill the gap with something positive has gotten a lot easier as I've practiced. And like I said, now, again, years later, it's very natural and very normal to do this. And like I said, I've noticed a lot of other people that I work with or have worked with don't necessarily do this. And maybe that's something I'm going to need to start talking about more at work and bringing that up with other people and continuing to try and model it a little bit more vocally. Because I do think that I think about it myself, or like sometimes I'll throw a little something in there when I'm talking to people. It's like, well, like to be fair, or like, oh, look at it from their perspective. But like maybe I should talk about this more. Maybe I should do more in my life to spread this type of positivity.
That is really good to hear, that someone who isn't wired this way can make it a habit. That's really
Oh yeah.
cool.
You can, that's what I'm like, that's why I wanted to, and again, I know we're going to wrap up, but I definitely wanted to squeeze in the fact that some people may be listening to this and have the same reaction I did of like, this is total ridiculous nonsense. Or they might try it and then give up right away, be like, oh, it didn't work. Right. That's the same thing with like dieting, exercise,
Oh, it's not immediate.
therapy. You got to practice and you got to put in the work. You'll see the results. And it's not nearly as hard as like, I'm going to bench press 250 pounds. Like, you really got to work up to that. I would
Yeah.
say this is a lot easier than doing that. But you do got to practice and you got to think about it. And you also, I would say, have to find positive things that work for you. So, you know about positive affirmations.
Mhm.
You know about that in terms of like, I'm so amazing. I'm so beautiful. Like, I'm the greatest. And you like look at yourself in the mirror and you like, high five yourself or whatever.
John
Um,
Handy's daily affirmations in Saturday Night Live skit. Yeah, that's
Wait, what?
fantastic.
What did you say?
Look up John Handy SNL skit. Uh,
Oh, okay.
I'm good
I'll look
enough,
it up.
I'm smart enough, and doggone it, people like me. And then he just gives daily affirmations that are just ridiculous.
So, you know how you do positive affirmations? You got to practice, and then eventually your mindset about yourself is supposed to change.
Yep.
It's the same thing. That is the same thing as Pygmalion Effect, but then you can do that also for other people.
Yes, you
And
can.
I was working with this one lady for a while, like we were doing a lot of coaching. And one of the things that I told her was like, maybe you should do some positive affirmations because she was having a lot of self-confidence issues. And I was like, I'm not a therapist. I don't really know, but people say that that's a thing that works. So have you ever done that before? And she was like, oh, I hated doing that. Her therapist, I guess, had recommended her doing that. And she was like, I hated it. I thought it was so ridiculous because I don't believe any of the things that I'm saying about myself. And it was just sort of, I've tried to do affirmations and I also think it's ridiculous. But what I told her, I told her this, I was like, I did that too. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so gorgeous. I'm like, that's ridiculous. Or like, I'm so smart. I'm like, that's also ridiculous. Like, this is, like my own self-talk with myself. And when I told her, I was always like, you got to find affirmations that you can actually get behind, even if it's something really ridiculous. Just as an example, even if I'm like, oh, I'm like the most attractive person in the whole world. And I'm like, that's so dumb. I'm like, you know what? You picked out a really good outfit today. I can get behind that. That's reasonable.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm not going to be a supermodel, but like, you really crushed it on the outfit today. Or, you know what? I only said something mean once today. That was really good of me. What are the little things that you can find to kind of build up some of those affirmations? And I was telling her this because it's the same way that you would practice doing this for other people. Like if there's someone you absolutely just can't stand and you just really hate this person at work or whatever, maybe even in your personal life, and you're like, well, I can't do unconditional positive regard, John and Casey. Like, that's ridiculous. How could I ever find anything to like about this person? Find something small. Find something totally silly or make something up. Like, again, that's the whole lying thing that I mentioned of like,
Yeah, that's how it starts.
ugh, this person was late to the meeting again. You're like, well, I don't know. Maybe they were letting ducks cross the road. Live in delusion land with the rest of us is really fun. Oh, you know what? He was just letting ducks cross the road and that's why he was late today. Or, you know what? This person is completely insufferable, but they do bring their lunch every day. How monetarily conscious of them? I don't know. Just find anything you can like kind of get behind so it's not a full-blown lie. Because I will say, I think that's kind of what I did, John, like when we
Sure.
did this. It's like, I can't really sit here and say, John Doe is such a great writer when everything that he writes is complete trash. It's like poorly written, spelling mistakes, horrible grammar. Like, I'm not really going to believe that. But if there's something else about John Doe that I can get behind, like you said, like that person who was like, well, you're really bad at these things, but you aren't really positive and upbeat. It's like, okay, that's a thing I can get behind. That would be, I would say, my recommendation for anyone who is trying to move in this direction and might find it hard because they have a similar personality to me. So like same with positive affirmations or things like this, like find stuff you can get behind.
Agreed. Two things that might help. The first thing is what you think reality is really just your interpretation of the facts that you're detecting with your senses. It likely is not ground truth. No one person on this planet knows ground truth. So, really, you make up your reality anyway, just make up a different one. And second thing is find a good affirmation that works for you. And it doesn't have to be a direct affirmation, it could be an indirect one. Like, for instance, this person's writing is garbage. Okay, let's address my assumptions with what garbage actually means. To whom is it garbage? Who is this for? The people they're going to deliver to, are they going to care as much as I do? Maybe they won't. Let's just assume that they won't. They won't pick up on those misspellings or something like that. It's gonna be okay. You just find whatever works for you. Just lower the bar for everyone else on the planet so that everything is okay.
Oh, you know how much that hurts someone who's a high achieving person?
I know.
That hurts me. I mean, you're right though. I think it is good to do that because I will say, especially for people who are high achieving or perfectionists, and I would even argue some people who gold plate, right? Like some people get frustrated if you're not gold plating. And it's like, do we really need to be doing that right now?
Right.
Like, is it really okay, the level that we're doing? Like, are we submitting C plus work? And is the C plus work going to get us to pass the class? Or did we really need to do A plus work?
Is it going to get noticed?
Right.
Are they even going to notice the A plus versus C plus work?
That hurts me deeply as A plus student.
I know, but probably not.
Oh, I know. I will say, I do think that's a really good thing to do. I have to check myself on that too sometimes. I just have to let this go. Like, it's definitely not good. It's definitely not up to my standard, but like, is it going to work out? Maybe. Hopefully.
It increases speed, but that's another topic.
It does increase speed, does sometimes lower the quality. And I will say, like, sometimes if something is really bad.
It depends what you mean by quality. Quality also is subjective unless you're talking about technical quality.
No, but like if you submit something to somebody, like what level they're expecting. So that's what I mean. Right? Like if someone's gonna notice,
I still say there's a little bit of subjectivity.
No, but if someone's gonna notice the misspellings, just because that was the example you gave, like
right,
and you have spelling mistakes, that's
easy.
Not high quality.
Yeah.
That's low quality. And you'd want to fix that before you submit it. So like depending on what the deliverable is, you have some gauge of what the quality is.
And then don't add more.
Yeah. Which that's a whole separate topic we probably should wrap up for today. Yes. But I will say it would be interesting to talk about like product ownership and product owners owning the quality. Yes. And how do you decide that quality? I think would be a really fun topic.
Yeah.
Because I'm in that type of role and I do decide a lot of quality, for better or for worse, of like what the level is that we need. And that can get into kind of a whole separate thing. But
it could also help a lot.
What could help a lot?
Having someone that can decide the quality to tell the team what's good enough and then move on. Anyway, different topic.
Yeah. Okay. Well, any final thoughts or any other parts of this that you want people to take away with them before we wrap up?
My final thought is I've seen this work numerous times. It is the single most powerful thing that I've ever done on any team. I've done it on various teams in the military, outside the military, in IT, outside of IT, across industries. Wherever there's people, this will work. And if we all did this, I think it'd be a much better world.
Yeah, I agree. We've seen it happen on teams that we've been on. I think you've probably seen it separately. I've probably seen it separately. And the other way around. Obviously, we've seen it used for evil.
Yes, the dark side.
Yeah, there are people that I see it happening to now. We've seen it happen. We've seen people basically lose their position because of this. And like, that's terrible. And I know for me, and I think for you, we take that really seriously if we contributed to that. So yeah, I agree. I think give this a go. That's my like final thought. Give it a few weeks to a month, really try it out. See if you notice any changes, like start paying attention either within yourself, within that person, or how it may even affect how you interact with other people. That would be, I guess, my challenge to people who are listening is try this out. Also, go learn some more. We'll link some resources and some of the studies in the description as well.
Mm-hmm.
Really fascinating topic. I think I totally agree with you, John. Like the world, I think, would be a much better place it's kind of similar to the idea of like leading with empathy, right? Of leading with this unconditional positive regard.
Yes.
And see what you think. Let us know
Yeah.
if you do try it out and if you think it's baloney, like I thought at the beginning, or if it starts working for you. I'd be curious to know.
Yeah, let us know.
Okay, so with that, thank you guys again so much for joining us. And leave a like, leave a comment. Like I said, reach out to us. You can either email us at theagilecommute@gmail.com. You can find us on Instagram. Feel free to DM us there. It's also at the Agile Commute. And we will see you guys next time. Thanks so much.
See ya.